OCP.
Right, these are also major headlines on the papers, but I just quickly want to touch on the Daily Trust.
Just brings us, of course, to what we discussed during the business segment. It says devaluation pushes Nigeria's debt to 89.2 trillion naira. And the rider reads, as debt stock raised by 20.6 trillion naira in 5 months, each Nigerian owing 418,779 naira. What government truly want to develop, you need to equip yourself with the right information. And this is all we'll take on newspaper review. Again, the Daily Sun, Vanguard, The Punch, and Tribune, The Nations, all of these papers, there will be something for you to digest for your own self-development. Right about now, we will take another short break for us to bring another guest of ours to look at. Well, so glad to Nigeria in the city, in Lagos State. Of course, they cited security threats as the reason for which their citizens in Nigeria should avoid major hotels in Nigeria. And we're now being joined by a security expert and a consultant, Prince Bright Ewika. Prince Bright Ewika, many thanks for coming on U45 Morning Show.
Thank you for
reactions to this. United States of America warning that citizens should avoid major hotels in Nigeria. What message does this send, and what does it portend for us as a nation and our integrity out there?
Well, every country has a responsibility to protect their citizens anywhere they are in the world. And America, as a nation state, is very citizens, Americans, anywhere they are in the world, about potential threats to life, threats to business, threats to peace of mind, so that they can take caution of this a system where they're covering literally every these kind of strategic information services that they provide from time to time to enable their citizens, to alert their citizens. Then their host country, or the country for whom the threat is, in which the threat is resident, should take it even more seriously. And if you read the advisory that was issued, they did mention that the security forces in Nigeria are taking steps to mitigate those threats. So, of course, our nation, Nigeria, should take it seriously, and I think they are, as well as every other well-meaning citizens around the world.
Okay, now we're the security expert. The former governor has been accused of diverting funds meant for the state development into personal use. He's also accused of buying Hilux vehicles, and he gave them to terrorists. And today, that same former governor is the minister.
Well, Nigeria, when it comes to security, is a contraption, because sometimes the kind of absurdities we hear is baffling. I mean, a governor, the gentleman you just referred to, was the chief security officer of that state. That means he had a primary responsibility to protect the citizens, to protect the businesses, to protect everybody. And the news we are getting from time to time is that these are the same people who are aiding and abetting terrorism and banditry and the rest of that. While I do not have the data to support that argument, but we have seen reports in the past that suggest that some of these people are complicit in this crisis. Otherwise, how do you, for example, the state you just mentioned is rich in mineral resources, gold and stuff. How do you explain a situation where a state government cannot utilize its own natural resources for development? Rather, it has become a source of trouble, a source of conflict. In fact, the natural resources of Zamfara State has become the mainstay of banditry and terrorists.
Been there.
I mean, it doesn't make sense. Okay, if the state cannot do something about it, what about the federal government? So that's what I mean by the absurdities that we hear in this part of the world. And sometimes it's have primary responsibility to ensure their safety, but they cannot do that, or they can only do that within the ambits of the law. Okay? People have argued for self-defense, people have argued for people to be given the opportunity to own arms for personal safety and the rest of that. The Constitution, as we have it right now, does not support that. So even though there are millions of illegal weapons in circulation in Nigeria, again, Nigerians should be for personal and national prosperity.
Prince Bright, sorry to cut you. Now, you would agree with me that the government has struggled to halt terrorism in Nigeria in the past years, and I'm trying to connect that with the warnings from the US, because if we recall, just in July, a correctional center was broken into by armed men, and they freed about 800 inmates, of which the Islamic State for West African province had claimed responsibility for that attack. What should the government do? You know, looking at the warning coming from the US in times like this, what should the Nigerian government do?
Yeah, but it's not just government, really. It's all stakeholders that are involved in our national security, including the private sector, okay? If you notice, the warning, they have also seen the advisory, so they change tactics accordingly. So what it means is that even though the information has to do with major hotels, if you run a hotel business in Nigeria, if you run any business that would consider as